Everyone knows what
I like the fact how he's wearing a Spider-Man just costume, but just the bottom half of it, and it's like super tight, super latex, and then just like the rest is just a normal guy. Interesting style, if I have to say.
JPEG is, but just in case you somehow missed the memo, it is an image format that's been around for about 30 years.
Join photographic experts group. I actually didn't know that. I actually didn't know that JPEG was a acronym for something else. I legit didn't even know. Join photographic experts group. So what does that have to do with, like, is that the foundations or the name of the group that like created this image format? Possibly.
It's normally a lossy format, meaning
What did I say?
It's been around for about 30 years.
There's something in the bottom. You guys probably are not able to see it. So pronounce JPEG. Oh, okay.
It's normally a lossy format, meaning that images saved in this way lose a bit of their quality, but their file sizes are much smaller, making it more convenient to share and to...
Yeah, if you ever dealt with JPEG, you would know this. I'm gonna sneeze again. Thank you. If you don't know this, JPEG, if you ever dealt with JPEG, I do remember that whenever I'm dealing with thumbnails of like videos that I'm creating to upload to YouTube, usually I save the image format in like JPEG, and when you do it, it usually like over like 2 megabytes, and YouTube thumbnail system doesn't really accept anything over 2 megabytes, so you have to compress the visual, and if you compress it so much, this actually happens in the video that you're seeing right now, this process.
This way lose a bit of their quality, but their file sizes
See
are much smaller, making it more
how like the quality getting worse and worse in time, and it's getting more and more pixelated like this. And now here it just looks like as if it says just some pixelated video game from like PS2 era. That's what it looks like. So yeah, this happens a lot. That's actually a cool artistic style. You can probably use that. That's actually like really really cool looking. I won't lie. But yeah, this actually happens. If you ever dealt with a JPEG, then when you compress it, this is what you get.
Store files in the JPEG format than in lossless and much bigger formats like PNG.
Yes, most of the time it's lossless. So when you try to convert a JPEG, the image will get worse, but the general and the overall structure will be conversed, right? It will just be there. It will be protected. It won't really go out its way to destroy the general idea of like what you're seeing, right?
And bitmap. JPEG saves
Jesus Christ!
Bigger formats like PNG.
That's 6 megabytes.
Bitmap.
That's a gigantic fucking file. Look at that thing. Jesus. I don't know what bitmap is, by the way. I never used it. If you ever use it, do let me know in the comment sections below. But that's a fucking huge 24,000 almost kilobytes. That's like really, really big, right?
JPEG saves file sizes by dropping the quality of the image where it thinks it won't be noticed. This isn't JPEG's fault, and you can customize how much you wanted to compress the image by, but this has unfortunately worked against its reputation, and these days, JPEG is used
You all got any more than pixels?
When an image looks low in quality or has been overly compressed too many.
The great thing about digital data is that it never degrades. Hard drives fail, of course, but their bits can be copied forever without loss. Film degrades, paint cracks, but a copy of a century-old data file is identical to original. If humanity has a permanent record, we are the first generation in it. Amazing. It just gets worse, worse, and worse and worse, right?
Many times. But we have a lot to thank JPEG for it's been widely supported, is easy to run, and has generally been good enough to serve our image needs for decades. But it risks being killed off, thanks to advancements in hardware power and...
I don't know what FF is.
Improved compression algorithms and all that exciting stuff. We can now get...
So look at that, here's the comparison, right? So JPEG, 122 kilobytes.
That are both smaller in file.
Hey Ick, it's like 40 kilobytes. It's so much lower when it comes to like the file size, but look at the fucking, like it's just super fucking extreme quality image. And it's just 40 kilobytes, right? So here you can see with the advancements of technology, you have much better ways of storing files, especially images, in such a smaller compared to JPEG, right? When it comes to file size, but the quality is essentially conserved, right?
File size and higher in quality than JPEG is.
Yeah.
There are superior, newer, and even newer types of
and that's great, right? And that's great. Like, should JPEG be never used ever again? No. If a person wants to use it, I think they should be able to use it. Do I think that if there is a better option, we should just, out of pity, just use JPEG? No. If there's a better option, just use a better option, right? It's just technology and innovation, just how it works, how it's always been, right?
Line. Newer standards than JPEG.
So do I really feel bad if JPEG is dying? Not really. I don't really care, as long as I can like store image, share the image, upload it and download it. I don't really care what format it is, right?
P and HEIC, and even newer types of JPEG,
as like a standard consumer, right?
JPEG LS, JPEG 2000, JPEG XR, and most recently JPEG.
Look at that, 97 kilobytes, and the same amount of kilobytes in like a normal JPEG would look fucking horrendous, but here it's just like high quality.
XL, and that's the exciting one. And it would make for a very sensible.
But wait a minute, you said that JPEG is dying and that's a bad thing, but here you're showing that there is also innovation in the JPEG side of the thing as well. So wouldn't that mean that it's not actually that bad? And wouldn't that mean that actually like innovation is happening and JPEG will not die? I think we'll just gotta have to watch the video and see what is it gonna say.
New standard for everyone to use instead of the original JPEG, because it behaves like JPEG, it smells like JPEG, tastes like JPEG, and is better at compressing images. Also, it remains backwards compatible, which is incredibly handy. For instance, you can get all of your old low-quality JPEG images, and rather than have to encode them again into a new standard and lose even more quality, you can simply make them into JPEG XLs, and it will make them slightly smaller in file size whilst losing none of the quality. How cool is that? For a video about image formats, it's kind of exciting.
It is.
It's safe to say that JPEG XL is the sensible new.
Again, just as I said before, I deal with thumbnails a lot. I create thumbnails for the videos. It's kind of a bother to compress the image and try to keep the image quality to the max. So it's always better to hear and learn about new ways of like saving images with much less file size, but the quality like kind of keeps up.
New standard that we should all be moving to.
Yeah.
But we're not.
Why are we not?
For AVIF is here to ruin JPEG's.
Yeah, that's another interesting thread. If something better than JPEG exists, why isn't it the standard in the first place?
And in a way, this video that you're watching right now is part of the problem.
Yeah, because you showed it before, right, at the beginning of the AVIF. I don't know what the fuck this is.
YouTube are gradually being moved over to the new AV1 video format, which is very good. The videos in this format are high in quality and small in file size, so it makes sense that since videos are essentially a bunch of images, we can get whatever's making these videos so good and use them to make really good images as well, right? And that's what the AVIF image format is. It's the image bit of the AV1 video standard. This makes its requirements slightly different.
Oh, it's an orange cat.
Whereas JPEG attempts to strike a please stand on my computer. She's adorable.
Oh my god, the cat actually got in the way. Amazing.
Put it simply,
oh, there's like a bunch of other people there as well.
AVIF's party trick is to deliver the absolute best image compression, resulting in the tiniest file sizes possible. So if that's your jam, then you should support AVIF over JPEG XL. However, JPEG XL wins in virtually every other way, and according to some sources online, it's even better than AVIF is at compressing images, although that's not really what I saw in my tests, but okay, whatever. And while AVIF is just the image bit of a very clever video standard, JPEG XL is a full-blown image format, and that matters more than you might expect. For instance, AVIF maxes out at 12 bits per color channel and 8K resolution. It can go beyond that, but then it begins to tile images together, which could result in distracting joints between each tile due to compression. Meanwhile, JPEG XL supports up to 32
what does that say? I mean, I had to compress it down to 16 kilobytes for the whole image to make it visible, and make it out of the two separate images to show you what a joint could look like, but only because I couldn't find one in practice. So it's probably not a big issue, but it's still a limitation that will degrade the image. One that JPEG XL doesn't suffer from. Okay, so wait a minute. You meant to tell me that there is a image format that's literally essentially the same on a technical level as Minecraft maps. Like using a map in Minecraft. If any of you played Minecraft before, you would know that in Minecraft, if you want to create like a gigantic, like a 3x3 and 9 grid giant map of the area that you're living in, you have to take a multiple snapshots of the area that you're in, and you have to travel around, and then you have to essentially put them inside like painting frames, essentially side by side and top to bottom. And then what happens is that essentially creates the entire image. So that's what this feels like, if that makes sense, right? Which is kind of ridiculous, sounds ridiculous, right? And even like 8K, this is supposed to be 8K. I mean, he said that it compressed the image, but still it looks horrible.
Points between each tile due to compression. Meanwhile, JPEG XL supports up to 32 bits per color channel and a resolution.
That's so much more. That's so much more. Look at this. 4,000 shades to 4 billion shades. Look at the difference, Jesus.
So great it may.
I mean, just use JPEG XL at that point.
Be infinite. It's very much a standard built for the future, while AVIF seems optimized for today's use cases.
Cat again, orange cat.
Of people in situations.
That cat looks stoned. That cat looks like as if it's on drugs.
But it is a bit worrying it's already neglecting that remaining 0.1%. JPEG XL isn't just more future-proof, it's also a lot more functional over the internet. It's currently easier for creators to create these images and to view them back again, meaning lower hardware requirements and less power being used to view JPEG XL images compared with AVIF ones. Although as hardware progresses, this difference will matter less and less. JPEG XL also supports a handy feature called progressive decoding. Before you can view an AVIF image online, it has to load the entire thing, but JPEG XL can display a low-quality version of the whole image after just 15% of the image is loaded. And then it can gradually fill in the rest with more details as and when they're loaded in.
That's interesting. That's one of the problems that I have a lot, and you probably also do. Whenever you have a horrible internet connection, a horrible infrastructure that where you live or where you're traveling, or if you're using a VPN for that matter, whenever you want to look at an image, browse the internet, Reddit, Twitter, whatever, images or Disco, for example, right, which I'm and whenever you're doing that, it takes a lot of time for the image to actually load. The entire image, right? It takes time, right? It loads typically from top to bottom, right? One part, another part, another part, another part. This is actually better. So you can just see the whole image out of the get-go, and then it slowly gets better in quality, which is amazing for that matter, right?
Prioritize the most important bits of the image to load in high quality first.
Google, of all companies, posted a blog discussing how they used AI to calculate saliency prediction. That is, which bits load in first, which is, yeah, I mean, sure, of course, right? Which bits load in first is determined by where the person looking at that image, or where a large chunk of the population will look at first, and what part of the image actually caught your eye first as a human being. And then, they just kind of, I guess, do eye tracking. And then they just kind of determine, hey, this is the part where the person or people around the world look at the image for the first time when they see it, and then just let's load those chunks first, and then the other ones will come later, right? Just makes the more sense.
This makes it very suitable for web browsing and for when you're scrolling through pages quickly and just need placeholder images rather than blank sections. And this is especially useful on lower speed internet connections. So you'd think it would be a no-brainer for the world to move over to JPEG XL, and yet the internet has seemingly spoken, and it's decided it wants AVIF instead. And by the
which is weird if you think about it, because up until this point, we're 5 minutes into the 8-minute video, we have 3 minutes left, but you would think that people will actually pick up JPEG XL because it's just better in every single way as it's shown to us, right? So it's very interesting that people actually not going for the better option.
Internet, I mean Google, whose Chrome browser...
Oh, okay, so it's just a single company, right? Because it makes sense.
Dropped support for JPEG XL back in February 2023. And as you might know, since most browsers are based on Chromium, it doesn't bode well for JPEG XL.
Yeah, because most of these browsers are just Chromium, so they essentially use the same infrastructure as Chrome. The outward look, the paint job over them is just different. But overall, when you look under the chassis, when you look under the hood, it's just the same car, right? Just the paint job is different, if that makes sense, right? Microsoft Edge used to be one of the last bastions that didn't use Chromium, but now they also switched to Chromium, so it's essentially just the same thing. So they're just like dominating the marketplace at this point. So if Chromium decides it's gonna cut support for one thing, it doesn't bode well, just like he said, right? Because most of the other stuff will probably follow in their footsteps very, very soon. If that actually, like, I mean, look at AdBlock, right? AdBlock has been getting shelved after shelved after shelved, and they've been pushing hard for it to not be used, not be utilized. And then since every one of these stuff, Brave, Opera, Vivaldi, all of these are using Chromium. All of them are Chromium based. It's just what's gonna happen. I'm Googled Chromium. It's still Chromium, mate.
Cell support. All this makes this particular study all the more interesting, since it's the one place on the internet that seems to heavily favour AVIF over JPEG XL. It appears to have been done by the AVIF team, is based on sample sizes of 24 and 48 images, and it comes to the conclusion again and again that AVIF is superior to JPEG XL. It shows that it's faster at creating...
Who would have guessed that the people who created AVIF are the ones who are coming up with a study that tells that AVIF is superior to everything else? How interesting.
Images, faster to display them, and the AVIF delivers superior image quality at the same file size, which seems to go against everything else I've read about it online. It even shows progressive decoders slowing down the decode performance of JPEG XL, which I thought was interesting given that clearly the benefits of progressive decode outweigh any of these negatives that are seen in these charts. The only thing this study shows JPEG XL beating AVIF at is in compressing lossless images.
Oh yeah, it's like, hey mate, copy my homework, but don't change it a little bit, like, so like the teacher doesn't suspect it, right? That's what it feels like. It's like, oh, it's like 99% of the germs will get killed, but that 1% of germs will stay on your hand no matter how many times you wash your hand. That's what it feels like, right? It's like, oh, we beat them in every single metric, but there's just one. This one metric? We lost it, mate. We lost that one.
Is something that the internet prioritizes. So I'm not saying that this is the study that killed JPEG XL supporting Chrome. I'm just saying it's pretty much the only available resource that could justify why it was killed. And it was published just 2 months before support for it was dropped in Chrome. But don't worry, there's always Firefox, although even they have remained quiet about JPEG XL, wanting to remain neutral on this topic. Apple's all for it though, with their Safari browser supporting both AVIF and the JPEG XL standards. And Microsoft are gradually rolling out support for JPEG XL in their
That's also nice
as well, though it's so difficult to use either of them in Windows 11 just yet that I'm not going to give the win to either of them. And
yeah, Windows 11 is just weird, mate.
A year ago, I settled on
Windows 11 is weird. Like back in the day, I remember Windows 7, Windows XP. If you wanted to search for anything, you would just immediately find it. And now, when you try to search for anything on your computer, it's just impossible to find the file that you're looking for whatever reason.
As being the standard
your computer just Windows 11. Your computer just thinks that you're searching for a query on the fucking web for whatever reason, not on your PC. Okay.
So damn well. You see, my parents have over 90,000 pictures, and it's reaching the point where the whole backup is filling up there.
1981, mate. That's crazy. That's like 40 years. Jesus.
Tiny little hard drives, and it's becoming difficult for them to create new backups.
How many fucking gigabytes?
And to share them all on USB sticks and stuff. So for fun, I converted all 90...
That's a lot of pictures. Holy shit. There's like a fucking billion pictures there.
50,000 of their pictures to AVIF, and I got over 400 gigabytes of JPEGs down to roughly 100 gigabytes in AVIF files, with minimal drop in quality. You lose the grain, but I don't always see that as a bad thing. I also messed
So that's like normal JPEG, right?
With HDR images and was quite happy with the quality.
Not Excel.
Like 4K image. So while I agree that AVIF is a horribly flawed and limited and half-baked image format,
some with videos I can always add fake grain back in to trick my brain into thinking it's lossless again. If I really wanted to, okay.
It's for anyone, then it's probably for someone like me. However, the sheer lack of support for the image file, the broken thumbnail...
I'm not gonna lie, maybe it's because I'm just blind, but I legit just see no difference.
How broken HDR itself is in Windows, and knowing just how...
I'm just seeing no difference.
Would cause for the people I'd be sharing these AVIF images with for the years to come, I think it's going to be many years before either new format is going to be ready to replace good old JPEG. But it does look like we're heading towards...
It looks the same. It just like if you go into detail like this, then you can actually see the differences, like minute differences. but when you look at it from the outside, it just seems the same, right? It just looks the
Where
same.
AVIF is the standard online, just because the images will be the smallest file sizes, and because Google's pushing for it, while JPEG XL will be the standard for anybody serious about image quality to stick to, because it's so much more robust and future-proof. Tell you what, someone should create an even newer, even better standard to unite all these formats once more.
Great video, to the point, explains the problem and the divide between companies and file formats, which is gonna be interesting to see what's gonna happen in the next like decade or two, when like a superior image format is just gonna win everyone's hearts and just gonna take the market by storm. Just gonna have to wait and see which one that's gonna be. The fact that Chromium can bump off JPEG XL because of market share is just horrible. Really need more than Firefox running on their own rendering engines. Yeah, I mean, can you really blame them? As a company, they need to earn money. That's what companies are for. I didn't expect the man in spandex pants power sitting when I asked him to know why JPEG is dying. Oh my god, dude. Okay, well,